Welcome to All Things Real Estate on Full Service Radio, 830 WCRN. Now, here's your hosts, Gary Kelley and Brad Avergon.
Good morning and welcome to All Things Real Estate on WCRN, AM 830. Emanating from Westboro, but actually the tower is out in Leominster somewhere. It's also available online on TuneIn. Did you know that, Brad?
I did not know that, Gary.
Yeah, you gotta tune in to be cool.
You gotta tune in to be cool. I think you may have missed your calling. You probably should be on radio more often. You could have your own, own disc jockey position.
Well, back when I was in high school, I did get the license to be the on-air talent. I did not get the license to run the station, but I did have the license to, and basically what it boiled down to is you had to watch your levels so that you didn't over-modulate. How's that for a Saturday morning word? You couldn't say dirty words, stuff like that, which, a lot of that's gone out the window, it seems.
Yeah. No, you've got a great radio voice. I'm told I have a great face for radio.
There you go. So, Brad, this week I'm with Lamacchia Realty, and you're with Fairway Independent Mortgage. And do you now know where the word Fairway came from?
I do. I researched it a little bit from your inquiry in the last show, and it was named by our CEO's best friend when they started the company back in 1996. And I believe that the thought behind it was they wanted to be able to do mortgages in a fair way. That was the idea, is that we were going to do things the right way for people.
Okay, I hear that. That's got a nice marketing spin. I'm going to say that they were out golfing and they were saying, you got to come up with a name for this. And the one guy looked at the other and said, why don't we just call it Fairway?
There is that possibility. I cannot confirm or deny that actually happened.
Well, let's talk a little bit about real estate and some of the challenges that people have with real estate. One of the things, without getting too dark, I wanted to talk about today was the potential for someone passing away and their kids having to deal with the house.
Yeah, that's something, we find ourselves at a funny time, and I think we're hearing more and more about that. I would imagine you hear it a lot these days. It seems like the baby boomer generation is kind of aging up, and a lot of those beginner baby boomers are unfortunately passing away, and they're leaving their kids to kind of deal with what's left over.
I know some people are like, yeah, I don't care. Let my kids deal with it. Others are like very concerned about it. And so the question becomes, what do they do? And we've got a couple of clients right now where we're dealing with offspring of departed parents that are in the process of clearing the house. In one case, the offspring hasn't been in the house in 7 years. And so, that every time she walks into the house, there's certain emotions that come up. And the other one has emotions, but she at the same time is like, yeah, I want to get this done. I don't want to spend all summer on this. And so she's got friends helping, et cetera, to kind of move it forward. I feel that I was fortunate in the sense that when my dad passed away, my mom immediately said, oh, gotta go into an apartment. I just have to do that. And we talked to her and we said, well, Mom, why are you doing that? Apartment's going to cost you money, et cetera. You like the house. So what we did was I bought the house. I got I got an additional mortgage on that house, and went through and fixed things up so that she could live there maintenance free, so to speak. So I replaced the roof. I replaced the siding. I had the entire inside of the house painted, had the carpets replaced. We actually got into replacing the furnace. Sadly, the house had been built in the 50s and had radiant heat in the floor, and it was copper tubing. And the copper tubing sitting for years in concrete had pitted and little holes develop. And she eventually went to a forced air system. And the forced air system was fine, but the vents were coming out of the ceiling because it was a ranch house, which was nice in the summertime because she had never had air conditioning. But in the wintertime, the heat tended to stay at the top and didn't come down as far. And it was kind of a nuisance for mom. But she was able to stay in the house until she no longer needed it. And we did that. That was a big trust thing for her because she didn't want to come into the house and then have me evict her, or, specifically, a wife evict her or something along those lines. So it was something we had some friendly attorneys and accountants help us to make sure it was all legal and right. One of the things I have never forgotten is that she had to pay rent of $1 a year. And when I first heard that, I was like, incredulous. What do you mean? I'm going to charge my mom rent $1 a year? And the attorney said, Gary, that's because if for some reason she can't pay the $1 a year, let's say that she's gone into a vegetative state. In that case, you're not going to have to keep the house. Okay. And you may need the house to actually fund some of this. So I was like, oh, wow. I'm glad that there are attorneys that think about things like that. So it's hard.
It is. It's a very emotional subject. And you know what? It's not one that is easily entered into by families. And it's unfortunate that that's the case, because what it does is leaves oftentimes the children scrambling at the end and either not having the tools in place because it wasn't discussed earlier, or not knowing what to do, not knowing, what they should do. And it can, I think in some ways it makes it even more emotionally charged than it would be if you had those discussions as a family early on. It's a lot of times when you have, folks that are aging in their home and they want to stay in their home, in most cases, you'll get that deferred maintenance that you were talking about, because it's kind of hard to keep up with it. The older you get, the harder it is to keep up with things like that. And so, and in cash flow may come into it too. It may not just be the physical limitations, but it may be cash flow. Maybe they don't have enough funds to replace the furnace, to replace the carpets, to do all those things. And maybe they don't have the income at that point to qualify for a mortgage, or nor do they want to. So a lot of those things can get deferred. And, I think your mom was fortunate that you were able to kind of get get good advice, which I think is the first step, is get advice from people that know that know this area, that know what to do and how to position it. But also that you were able to step in and help and let your mom stay in her home. I think that's what a lot of folks want, if they can do it. And fortunately, a lot of services are available now for, in-home services that may not have been as available in years past. So you can get nurses to come by and visit you and check on things and check your medical, if you make sure you took your medication, make sure your blood pressure is going. You can get physical therapists to come by in your home. It's actually a lot less expensive, I believe, to stay in your home from an insurance company standpoint than to, for example, go into an assisted living facility, if you can do it. Not all people are that fortunate. Sometimes
right.
On the clock.
That's exactly right. That's one of the challenges, I think, is, not everyone can do it. I know that there's a company called Right at Home. It's a franchise, and they work with people to try to let them stay in their home as long as they possibly can. And I think that that's a very, very nice thing. The other thing that you get into is, how do you deal with all the stuff in the house? And every family is different. Some people are going to come and say, here's the Poland Spring bottle. My dad kept this on his desk. He drank out of it whenever he was thirsty. It is my thought of my father. And, if you have that thought process on every item in the house, it takes a long time to clear it out. What we often suggest to people is they take all of the treasures, like the Poland Springs bottle, right from Maine, that we take that and take those things out of the house and then deal with what's left. Have someone come in and sell off things, or have an organization come in and donate the stuff to them. what I find interesting on the donation side is you have this idea that you'd like to donate things, but not all of the services are in a position of accepting them. We had a client that wanted to donate all of her clothing to the Kelley Foster School out in Worcester, and they would only accept clothes certain days of the week. They would only accept a bag at a time. They would only accept it if the clothes have been cleaned. And we're talking lots of stuff. In that particular case, we took the stuff to Goodwill, and they were like, bring it on in, back up a truck. We don't care. We'll take it all. But that's a hard thing for folks, because they want to do the right thing for society. They want to help, but not all of those agencies are in a position of processing all of that. And
a perfect example of that is, if you think about it, is encyclopedias. There's some things, that way back when, right? You may have ordered a bunch of encyclopedias, and maybe that's what I used for my homework growing up, or whatever the case may be. Mom and dad had them, and you got a whole set of that. But in this day and age now, people just go to their laptop, and they don't keep encyclopedias typically on the shelf. And I don't even know if libraries accept those. Where do you donate that stuff? I don't know.
I know libraries, I know the head librarian over in Westboro, and they will accept some books. I don't know about, whole encyclopedias of history. I know that my parents, it seemed when I was a kid, the World Book was one big deal encyclopedia, and the other one was Britannica, and you could get the updates and the editions and stuff. I did that with my kids, but now everything's a Google away.
Right.
It really is.
Right.
So people get into filling dumpsters, and it almost becomes a badge of courage. I filled 5 dumpsters. Well, okay, I'm glad that you filled 5 dumpsters. My view is, get the stuff out of the house that you want, donate what you want to donate, and then have, professional people come in and just take what's left. Be it a company in Westboro called Good Is Gone, which recently sold to a new owner, or, the junk out people. There's people all over that's what they specialize in. And they bring people that, with strong backs that help move things out of the house, and it just becomes easier for folks.
I think you're right, Gary. And I think there's, if you think about it, when you're trying to clear out your own house, every item you pick up has a memory that triggers with it, right? Oh, I remember this book. Oh, I looked at this. Oh, I looked at that. And you sit there and you look at it. So it takes a lot longer to go through your house, because you're thinking, oh, remember we did this, and are we going to keep this now? Are we not going to keep this out? Versus when you bring in professionals, as you're saying, they bring in folks with strong backs. They come in, they grab a box, they throw it in the dumpster, they come back and grab another one. They're not going through the material piece by piece.
So Brad, I'm going to get ready for a break here. I'm going to have a drink of my Poland Springs water direct from Maine. How'd someone reach you?
Best way to reach me, Gary, is via my cell phone, which is 978-375-5531, or they can reach me at brad@bradavergon.com. And Gary, how do they reach you?
I can be reached on my cell at 508-733-6005, or at gary@movewithgary.com. See you on the second half, Brad.
See you on the flip side, Gary.
You've been listening to All Things Real Estate on Full Service Radio, 830 WCRN.